Okay, last kind of thought, and it's it might just be for me, but I feel like we're recording this just after Easter, and for a lot of pastors, it was like a 4-week sprint or 6-week sprint even to get online and repivot and rethink what we're doing and making tough staffing decisions and there's an adrenaline run, and I'm feeling this like post-Easter almost crash. I'm almost embarrassed about just how much it's affecting me, and I think a lot of other pastors are just feeling that, and just wanted to give you a moment just to speak to how do we come down off moments like that, and how do we find rest in the midst of it. I just think a lot of pastors and leaders are tired, and just wanted to almost let you invite pastors to a place of rest in this time.
Yeah, and I think not just invite, I think it's actually really important that we rest, because if right now we start reimagining our organizations, we're going to do it from a place of anxiety, exhaustion, fear, grasping for control. Those are not good inner postures to basically reorchestrate the next year or two of our churches based from that inner place. It's just not, you don't want to do that. So I think, just at a generic leadership level, whether it's a church or a small business, you kind of have 3 phases we have to go through. Phase 1 is kind of crisis management, like triage, crisis management. Oh my gosh, that was like the first week of like, what the heck? I mean, we had so little warning. It was not on our radar. I was halfway through writing my sermon for Sunday on Thursday at noon when I turned on my phone and found out that late the night before, they'd banned all gatherings, over 250 people. We couldn't do church that weekend, like what? That was a Thursday afternoon, So that's like just crisis management. Phase 2 is like basically pivoting your organization or your church. So it's what you just said, like, how do we get online? Do we do a podcast? What's our rule of life? What's church going to look like for this, stay home thing, which is likely going to be at least 3 months or whatever. Like, okay. And then phase 3 is reimagining kind of what is reentry going to look like, especially in what will likely be a staggered scenario that could be over 6 months, could be over 2 or 3 years. We don't know yet. And it's really hard. And how do we want to come back? Do we just want to come back and do the same things? Or do we want to come back differently? What's going to change? What's our staffing going to look like? All of that. And I think there is a necessary break that needs to happen between phase 2 and phase 3. I think we're all through phase 2. We've done crisis management. We've pivoted our churches to the best of our ability, and we're still a ways out. I'm not sure exactly when this podcast will go live, but we're still a ways out before any semblance of return to kind of business as usual. So I think actually right now, what we made the decision as soon as we got through Easter, we just decided we're going to take 3 weeks and we're just going to rest. So we have a whole list of problems that we got to work on as elders, and they're all waiting for an elders meeting next week. Like we're meeting, we're praying, we're just doing spiritual direction, we're pastoring our people, we're still, we're still very present, but we're intentional, and our mind can't help but strategize, but we're intentionally not having those conversations yet because we don't want to have them out of a place of anxiety, but out of a place of possibility. And so I think it's more important now than ever to rest. I mean, imagine like if you just played, like if you're an athlete, like I'm not a sports guy, but you just played like one of the most intense games of your life. You don't then go into the next, like the first thing that you need to do is rest, I read a book on Olympians recently that said, what separates the best from the really good at the Olympic or professional athlete level is not how hard they train, but how hard they rest. And it said that at that level, once you get to the level of professional athlete, they all basically train the same amount. So it's not the best train more. It's actually the main difference is the best of the best are ruthless about how hard they rest and how they care for their body and their spirit and their emotional condition, how seriously they take their off time. That's what separates the true premium from just the professionals. And I think there's something to that. I've been around a few really high level leaders, and I don't know them crazy well, but I've tend to be shocked by how relaxed some of them are. And it's like some of them are the type A crazy people working insane hours that mostly end up in a news feed for some scandal at some point. But some of the ones that flourish and thrive and lead long term, they're just healthy, happy people that actually really know how to delegate and lead from their strengths and know how to rest. So none of
Mm,
us are, maybe if you're listening, but I'm not one of those people. But I think there is a principle there where rest is more important now, not less.
mm,
Sabbath is more important now than ever because it's how we remind ourselves that we're not running the universe, that we're not in control, that God is. And our job is to delight and give thanks and live one day at a time.